Here in Tijuana, residents are having a harder time than ever getting around. Assembly plants like these, called maquiladoras, have attracted migrants from all over Mexico. The city's population has gone from 150,000 in 1960 to about 1.5 million today. These newcomers have spread out far beyond the city's core, creating a headache for urban planners like Jorge Alberto Gutierrez.
Tijuana, we call it a 3D city. It's distant, disconnected, and dispersed.
Yeah.
Okay? So we need to change that, and we need to stop the sprawl. And if you don't have a quality transit system, you cannot do it.
Already, Tijuana has one of the highest rates of car ownership in Mexico, with locals snapping up both new cars and used imports from California. But those who can't afford a car have to rely on public transportation. Just a few miles to the north, a single agency, the Metropolitan Transit System, administers San Diego's entire bus and trolley network. But Tijuana's bus system grew piece by piece, as different companies won contracts to operate in particular areas. Today, dozens of bus and collective taxi lines link the city together. How well does it work? One local university student, Alejandro Palacios, didn't mince words when I asked him.
Especially to the spirit. I despise public transport. I despise it. I take it because I have a choice.
Most buses are second-hand American school buses, brightly painted in their company colors. They're noisy, highly polluting, and well-worn on the inside. In collective taxis, meanwhile, seatbelts are rare, riders cram close together, and there are few set stops. And the routes are so tangled that 48% of passengers have to make 2 or more transfers to reach their destination. They have to pay a different fare each time, and for the low-income residents who need transit the most, those costs can add up. Now, the city's leaders are promising to make things better with a relatively new technology, Bus Rapid Transit, or BRT. In BRT systems, high-speed buses run along reserved lanes, only stopping at stations. It's basically a light rail system, but without the cost of laying tracks or digging tunnels. Since the city of Curitiba, Brazil, pioneered BRT in the 1970s, it's caught on in cities around the world. In November 2016, Tijuana followed in their footsteps by opening its own BRT line, the Sistema Integral de Transporte de Tijuana, or SIT. The SIT's Ruta Troncal, or trunk route, runs from the San Ysidro port of entry in the north to the El Florido neighborhood in the southeast. Rutas pretroncales and rutas alimentadoras, or pre-trunk and feeder routes, connect this high-speed line to outlying neighborhoods. The infrastructure was built with government money, and transportation companies are now sharing the operating costs. 6 months in, new buses for the system are still being delivered and tested. But already, the SIT is facing problems. Locals don't seem to be taking to the new line. The stations are often empty, and many are heavily vandalized. Many drivers and transportation firm employees, or transportistas, see these problems as the latest sign of an inept city government. They blame these issues on poor design, saying that the stations aren't easily accessible and that users haven't been properly educated on how to use the system. Some of them go further, claiming that the SIT is really about serving local politicians and certain transportation companies, rather than the city. It's true that some well-connected firms, like this one, Calfia, are heavily involved in the new line. And meanwhile, the drivers who aren't involved with the SIT still face plenty of difficulties. In some bus and taxi de ruta companies, drivers have to rent and maintain their vehicles and take home whatever's left. Other firms, like this one, Azul y Blanco, are facing tougher competition, and poor street conditions are keeping them from upgrading their vehicles. It remains to be seen whether Tijuana can overcome these hurdles, reconcile the competing interests involved, and create a transportation system that works for all its residents. One rider I spoke with on the Ruta Troncal, Jose Mendoza, thinks it can.
It's taking a long time, but if they persist, if they keep going, and if they don't give up, this system will be good.
If he's right, hundreds of thousands of commuters in this border city stand to benefit. For the Pulitzer Center on Crisis Reporting, I'm Patrick Riley.